So with that being said, I think he's going to play an even bigger role in the next part of the season.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. And I'm very interested in seeing what happens, when he gets out. Part of me is kind of so waiting for the other shoe to drop. I believe that Barry's dad is innocent, and that's why they're building so much around the show. But it feels like they're kind of steering you in that direction. I don't know if they're going to pull the bottom out from under us in terms of his dad. I'm saying I don't know what there might be something more to his dad than we realize at this point. I don't know. It just seems like having him come out of jail and then him reuniting with Barry. I don't really know how many, because they have so much story on these other things where he's exactly going to fit into it once he's out of prison. But I'm interested to see what they do with it.
Well, that's right. And plus him being the original Flash Gordon, then he's going to have a bigger role.
Yeah, and John Wesley Shipp is such a phenomenal actor. I'm really excited. They have such a great cast on this show already, but I'm excited to see him mix it up a little more with everybody else.
So, yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, like I said, I was very, very impressed with this episode and very pleased with it. I said, no, this is a good mid-season finale, and they did a really good job with this one.
They really did. And one of the things I'm really appreciative about the show this season, and just it's kind of hard with sci-fi shows because they hit these, with having a drama series of any sort, especially with superhero series shows, you have the superpowers, the romances, the emotional aspects, and I just felt like The Flash they're having their first season, have really melded all these facets together where nothing seems false to me, and it hits you with a little emotional punch. Like I said, a very emotional, poignant scene, and I feel like they're balancing that with the action and the special effects. It is just as sweet a show and an emotional a show as it is about, oh, hey, look at these amazing special effects, which I think really puts a punctuation mark on how good this show is.
Yes, totally agree. So, the next season I think is going to be even better than this one. I mean, it's the first part of the season is going to be pretty hard to top, but I think they've got some good storylines going. Development of Siskel's character, kind of Firestorm being introduced, Reverse Flash being introduced, and pretty sure Eddie and Iris can be moving in together, and Eddie kind of heading down the wrong path because he just seems to be more and more of a douche and than he was before. Because it was one of those things they kind of started out trying to make you like Eddie. And now they're trying to. It seems like they're trying to do the reverse and kind of make you start to dislike him because they're setting him down that path. Because I'm almost 100% positive he'll be a villain, and I think he'll be possibly Zoom.
Oh, okay.
So I'm again just taking a guess. So this isn't for sure. This is just a guess.
Gotcha.
So. But I like I said, I'm interested to see what they're going to do next season because now there's so many more things now and much more action to get into.
Mm-hmm.
So very very curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, me too. I'm very excited.
But so with that being said, let's move on to Arrow. And personally, my thoughts it was super weak. Like, I mean, I just with kind of halfway through with Laurel's mom showing up and kind of saying, what, I've got there's nothing showing the women's intuition or mother's intuition, and fair enough. I'm not discrediting that part of it, but just the cheesing of it is Sarah's dead, isn't she? He's like, oh, really? And then just the irony that Thea and Laurel were in the cemetery at the same time when Laurel was at Sarah's grave kind of talking to her, and then Thea was just there visiting her mother's grave. What are you doing here? It's okay, Sarah's okay. And I was like, oh boy. So I know they gotta throw some cheese in there, and fair enough, but that was alright. And I mean, I know Arrow is a bit more serious, and I understand that. I mean, and it's worked so well. It's worked pretty well up until this first part of the season, and I'm just not sure I'm into it. And then, the fact that he had to deliver the killer to the League of Assassins, then we find out because of this drug that Malcolm Merlin had found, and pretty much makes anybody open to any suggestion sort of thing. So he showed him the video on his phone of Thea killing Sarah, which I thought was interesting. And initially, going back a few steps, when they were having Felicity check it out and saying, well, it's your DNA and on here, and then they're trying to convince him like Thea probably is a killer. No, she's such a sweet girl. Da da. She'd never kill anyone. Open your eyes. Yeah. And of course they see the video footage of the pilot who took Malcolm Merlin. I can't remember the places. The places are not important, but the fact that going back and forth, and he's very good at covering his tracks, so they kind of followed and follow his tracks. So they talked to this guy and talked to the pilot, sorry, and he said, "Well," he goes, "Yes, I did drop them off." He goes, "Do you want to see the video? Like, don't hurt me." Like, but the thing that got me the most is when I don't remember the part of League of Assassins, Sarah's girlfriend or what have you, was with the Asian man, the Japanese guy that he was with in China trying to get this information out, and now he's like some evil guy, like a lot more evil than he was. Is like, and when he calls him his way, he's like, "No, I'm just this. There's none of that left. None of that." I was like, "Oh wow." So, I'm interested to see how much more. I mean, the League of Assassins has been kind of in and out, so I'm sure they're still going to play somewhat of a major role in the next one. But I can't. The past few episodes I just haven't get into. I mean, the crossover was awesome, but and just watching this episode, I mean, I understand where they're going, but again, too many flashbacks. Like, knock it off already. We get it. We know who the guy was. We saw him last episode or the episode before that. We know who he is. We know we don't need anything more. Then of course they show after they went to find this other guy because this guy had stolen the drug that Malcolm Merlin was talking about, and it was a doctor and didn't know he'd done it because he'd been obviously hit up with the stuff. And then of course the guy's like, well, now the woman in white is gonna come looking for us, and of course she ends up at his apartment. His son survives, and we kind of think they kind of gives the impression that his wife might be dead. But we're not absolutely positive because she obviously seemed to be able to defend herself pretty well because she was good with the swords, as the woman in white kind of told us. I don't remember don't remember her name, but she kind of pointed out, oh, well, I know these swords are yours. So they started fighting, right? And then she was taken away. So I kind of think she's dead, but I'm not 100% positive. But I don't think they're going to make it that easy to kind of buy into. So I think they've got an ulterior motive to this. And I'm going to skip to the end here, and then we'll kind of jump back a little bit. But at the very end, as per League of Assassins, he's the first one who's challenged the head guy in, like, what do you say, like 50-something years?
He said 67 years.
Oh, 67 years.
That day over 50.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. First off, I'm calling BS on that. I know they had to give a number, but that's a little too much. You could have said like 20 years, but the final fight at the end, it was cheesy. It's like this is nothing. Like, what action is this? Like, let's go a little bit more. And like, oh, you're lucky. No one else would have lived so long. Blah 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 blah. It's like, and then of course. Now, he ends up stabbing Errol, but he didn't stab him in the abdomen. He kind of stabbed him through the side. Well, meaning, like, it's kind of above and kind of, like, I guess halfway in between, like, his pecs and his belly button, like that, but kind of, like, mid chest, if you want to say it. And then, boots him off the rock, like, you did well. And it's pretty much talking. I'm not sure what the language is. Like, I could take a guess, but I don't want to... slight anyone here, but saying he did well, something about fear, and then he kicks him off the edge of the cliff. And it's like, okay, that was a little too easy. First off, I don't care how good of a fighter or killer this guy is. They made it a little bit too easy, and it didn't last long. I mean, if you're gonna give him like a possible mortal wound, I mean, pick it up a little bit, give us a little bit more. And then when he kicked him on the cliff, I was like, honestly, the first reaction was like, this is super weak. I was not impressed at all. I was a little ticked off, to be honest with you.
Well, I did think the fight, I mean, they built this guy up so much, it was going to be a little bit disappointing if Arrow just, he ended up killing him. But I would have liked to see a little more neck and neck between the two of them. Obviously, we know that it's kind of a cheap stunt because we know that Arrow's not dead. Which, by the way, on all the internet sites, fights, it said, "Oh my gosh, Arrow shocker, major character killed." And so I hadn't gotten a chance to see the episode yet. I saw the headline, and I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, who is it? Who could it be?" Because I didn't want to part with anyone. And then when I realized it was just a lame ass fake out that, oh yeah, the star of the show is dead, I was a little peeved.
Okay, no, this isn't Game of Thrones. This is going to last longer. First off, they're not going to kill off major characters every so often here. And that's the thing is like people buying that so quickly, and most people who watch shows like this should know better that he is not dead. They're gonna build that up a little bit, of course. But think about it: why on earth, would they kill off the main character? Like literally the main character. What are they going to build a show around after he's dead? They can't. They're not going to build it around Speedy, and nor are they going to build around Merlin and Thea because it wouldn't go anywhere, and people would kind of lose interest. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
So I mean, we know Merlin's evil. We know he's a good fighter, and the same thing with Thea that she picked up, and we got to see that. We'll get to that in a second. But they're not going to kill him off. It was too cheesy, and of course when he's fighting with the swords, like, where's your weapon? He goes, you'll know when I have your blades in my hand. It's like, oh, for the love of God, come on. Go ahead, sorry.
I was saying, I know they had to come up with this dialogue and stuff to make it very epic, but I don't know, something about it kind of felt. The dialogue fell a little flat.
Yeah, this is not even close to epic. This is like major cheese. Like, I mean, come on. I mean, it's almost like you're expecting. You almost know what they're gonna say before they say it, and you gotta have a little foresighted judgment. Kind of pick something that maybe someone would expect you to say. It's like some of I'm trying to think of another character I never should relate it to, but you just know where they're coming from. Or was it with Cupid? No, I mean I know she's under lockup right now, but with some of her lines, like you could see that like 10 miles away.
Yeah, the whole thing. I'm Cupid, stupid. Okay, we knew that we were headed to that.
Oh, yeah.
It just when you have these kind of battles and everything, it's something that I do appreciate that Game of Thrones does really well. And if anyone hasn't seen that last season, yeah, I'm gonna already talk about something spoilery. But there is a very great action sequence this season with the Mountain, who is this huge guy and insurmountable, nemesis on the show. This guy, and then this guy. Other guy was going to fight him because the Mountain had killed his sisters and her children. So they were getting ready they're having this big battle, and the guy and him the Mountain he doesn't talk, but the man who was avenging his family, he started talking to the Mountain, and he was chanting at him and saying that he was doing this for his family. None of that felt cheesy to me. That felt very authentic and real, and it really drummed up all this emotion and seeing the fight. But something about the way that they do their fights, that doesn't seem cheesy to me, and they don't go for obvious lines.
Well, no,
it's a lot more authentic.
It's essentially it's pure brutality is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to see. We want to see blood and guts, even if it is like a character. I'm not saying every episode like we should see like someone decapitated or that sort of thing. But you got to give us a little more in some instances, especially when it's a big battle like this. I mean, that was what really kind of ticked me off. Is like I always want to say done, because like I just like just a look of disappointment on my face. It's like, oh, this is it. Okay, you put a sword in him, you kick him off the edge of the cliff. We know he's not dead, but that was really bad. We know Arrow wasn't going to kill him right away because we know that's not going to happen because otherwise the show wouldn't be able to continue because building up to this massive fight. You can't. Essentially, I think they let the viewers down. I really do. I mean, they could have given us a little more. They could have given us a little more, like kind of hand-to-hand combat, or more sword fighting. Make it last a few more minutes because that whole fight scene literally was probably a minute, maybe a minute and a half if we were lucky. But it just, if you want to keep viewers watching, you can't disappoint like this. Yes, he injured Arrow. Fantastic. Part of the plot line. Great, got it. But come on, if you're gonna put a build up to this fight and make Oliver up to be like, well, what's gonna happen when he come back? Well, I'll come home and Theo will be fine, and and then goes off, and then like he's up there for a minute. He's climbed this huge mountain, like taking forever to climb this mountain. And he gets up there and he's in there for a minute, and they get stabbed and kicked off. It's like, oh come on, we know this guy's a great fighter, but still, give us a little more.
I agree. I do have to say, however, that the whole idea when we're watching these kind of shows, you have this trope of, oh man, we know our hero is going to win. You feel really secure in that, and you get so confident about it that when he went up on